you're just not like other women.
Yeah.
Really? Because the women I know are brilliant. They're gorgeous. They're smart.
They're strong. They're capable. They're
creative.
magical. They're intuitive.
Oh, I'm not like that? All right. Well,
What, you think I'm a dummy?
yeah.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Goddess Hangs.
Episode 68.
Woo! We made it!
We sure did.
Next week is episode 69.
Uh-oh.
Here we are at episode 68. I'm Sadie.
I'm Juliet. Obviously.
And we created Goddess Hangs podcast to make the world of mindset, magic, and manifestation more relatable
And fun.
We just got in from the beach.
Oh my gosh. I think I read your mind today because I packed a bathing suit. I realized it was warm. And this might be the new routine this summer. I come here, we go lie on the beach for like an hour. There was a pod of dolphins just swimming right in front of us. A bee came to say hello on Sadie's back for about 12 minutes.
Yep.
Took a little nap there.
I was scared, but also afraid.
I was scared, but also afraid.
I have a story about that phrase.
Oh, tell me.
So, my friend Claire, who, she actually grew up in LA as a child, but then her whole family like moved to Wisconsin when she was in like middle school or high school. And then we met in college. And so she lived in Madison, Wisconsin. So, you know, it's Wisconsin, but it's a city. I grew up in rural Wisconsin, a small town. And she came to my hometown. And so we had a couple options for the night. So I asked her, do you want to go to the bar, Nuts Deep? And that is spelled with a Z, Nuts Deep. Or do you want to go to the Corn Fest? And we can eat corn off of this conveyor belt and you just like dip it in this bucket of butter. And it's really fun. And her face was like a little horrified. And she said, she meant to say like I'm scared but I'm also excited, you know, like oh something new, but she said, but what came out of her mouth was I'm scared but I'm also afraid. And I was like, oh, we don't have to do either of those things, we can just stay home. And she's like, no, that's not what I meant. So now that's our favorite thing to say all the time is I'm scared and I'm also afraid.
That's like those things where it says, am I nervous? Yes. But that's just what happened here.
Am I scared? Yes. Am I afraid? Yes. Am I excited? Yes.
So we had a beautiful day at the beach. It's really nice. Started to feel a little roasted. So up we came back to Sadie's house. And we just like had our little meeting at the beach today.
We did. It was fabulous.
So wonderful.
So, Juliet, what's new with you?
I made a list. Last week I was a little kerfuffled. I was at a loss for words. I actually listened back. I was like, was it as bad? And it was about as bad as I thought.
I don't remember. It was last week the week where we were both like, oh, we don't have much? Or no?
No, you came back from New Mexico
and
went on a balloon in the sky.
I had quite the catch up with me. So it's okay. You just let me shine last week.
I live to let you shine. Did anybody else as a 15-year-old listen to Gregory and the Hawk and was just like the saddest person ever? Or was that just me? Comment below. Probably because you were having a better time.
Well, I was the saddest person ever at 15, but chose different music to go through it.
Pop punk.
Yes.
Emo. Okay, so the biggest thing that happened was I went out for St. Patrick's Day and Victor had other plans with his dad and his future brother-in-law. So it was kind of like a boys' night. And I was like, okay, I'll do something. So me, Irene, Paul, Irene and I used to work for, and this other guy we first had dinner at Irene's and then we went out and we're like bar hopping and doing this and that. And I'm sort of enjoying it at first. But then I guess I had a little too much, which does not really ever happen to me. I'm really good at being like, okay, time to stop. Like I've never thrown up.
Well, that's a St. Patty's Day celebration if I ever heard it.
Yeah. So I got back to Irene's at like 1 a.m. and Victor could just tell from my texts that he like needed to come get me. So he shows up, he picks me up, I leave my car there. There's a reason I'm telling this story. He takes me home. Everything comes up. It was the first time that had ever happened. So I got to have like my college day.
Wow, that was the first time you ever threw up from drinking?
Mm-hmm.
I rarely do, but
first time.
I mean, I used to drink a lot, so
I just didn't. And so I don't know what I did wrong. But anyways, that happened. And the next day, I just felt really strange. And I was like, okay, I'm in this season of my life where I don't really want to do that. Like, that doesn't really fulfill me. But I also don't really want to have a wedding and push out babies right now.
Right.
And it's just this weird, I had this little existential crisis and a little cry about it. And I was talking to Victor, and what we both sort of came to was, we need to travel. Like, we need to see the world and experience more places. And because we're sort of in this routine, and he works and I, work and in my own way, but I stay very much in the same place. And we just had this like massive realization, and it just felt so right. Because I was like, you could put a ring on it right now, but I don't think that's going to scratch the itch. Like, I just don't think that's what it is. And I could, I guess, go out and party more, but I don't think that's what it is.
It's fun to like once in a great while.
Mm-hmm.
But
like
I
when
agree.
we did Halloween together, that was a treat.
I mean, St. Paddy's Day is, sort of a drinking holiday. So if it's a once in a while thing, that was the day to go out. But yeah, I get what you mean. And it's been really fun because I have been traveling quite a bit.
It's been inspiring for me.
And it's mostly to meet with the same friends. And these are my friends that I grew up with. So like they were my drinking friends that I drank a lot with in high school and drank a lot with in college. But we've sort of outgrown that too, which is really cool to have like grown together. Like we still, we go out for drinks, but it wasn't like the college or high school, like we're not going out to get drunk. We're going out to have fun dressing up and going to a new place and having a cocktail and then going to bed at 10 p.m. And it's fabulous because we still have fun. We have a drink, we do it, but then we're like, let's go home. And
I think
23-year-old me would cringe at 30-year-old me saying, I want to go for one drink and go to bed at 10 p.m., but I am loving it.
Yeah, oh well. So what's so wild is, and I had a specific travel spot on my vision board, which is like my phone background and my computer background, and then another thing of Victor and I doing like a fun luxury trip. And the next day, so we decided this.
Yes.
Because we keep like, maybe, we keep trying, but we're not making any decisions, which is what we talked about last week. You have to decide.
Yeah, that happens a lot with travel, I feel like. You put off making the plan.
The next day, and this is not confirmed yet, but the timing was uncanny. Somebody we know invited us to Italy with them this summer. Like, oh yeah, I'm doing Italy and Greece, and just like come stay with us.
Oh my God, where in Italy?
The Amalfi Coast, which is the spot
that's on my vision board too.
That is on my vision board in the top left corner. And I didn't even remember I had to Google and see if that's what I put on the vision board. So fingers crossed that can happen. But it was just like, whoa. And then as all that is happening, Sadie and I are prepping for an international goddess getaway.
Which that sort of popped up, sort of manifested as an opportunity too, just at the same time.
Yeah. Where we're talking about either Bali or Costa Rica or somewhere kind of tropical and magical. And I'm just feeling so refreshed and excited. Like that St. Paddy's Day purge, quite literally, gave me a lot of clarity.
You know what? Sometimes it's good to just throw it all off.
You know what they say? It's the luck of the Irish, which I am 9%, by the way.
There you go. I don't know what percent I am. I'm actually quite a lot Irish. My grandpa is half Irish. So I don't know where that puts me. His like
half quarter, like an eighth.
His dad, so my great grandpa, I think came from Ireland. His middle name's Shannon, a very Irish middle name.
Shannon.
And I was like, that's a girl name because I have an Aunt Shannon on my dad's side. I was like, what do you mean? And then I think my dad's side has some Irish too. So I'm quite a lot Irish, but I didn't know the percent.
I know the percent because
I really want to do one of those.
I did. You know when the time to do it is? And this is just free advice. Do it on Black Friday. Because normally it's like $130 or something. On Black Friday, they make it like $79.95.
Okay, this upcoming Black Friday, I'm going to do it. I meant to...
that was my Black Friday purchase, my Ancestry.
I never really Black Friday shop, but that's a good one. I'll save it. I'll make a note in my planner for that. Because I was going to ask it for my birthday this past year. Because I was like, that's kind of a good birthday present when you were born and, you know, what are you? But I forgot. And then my dad just put cash in my bank account and I was like, I could use it to buy it, but I never did.
It's hard when people give you cash. That's the most privileged thing I could have said.
It's hard when people give you cash. It's hard not to think about like how like
I'm gonna pay a bill if somebody gives me cash.
I'm like, oh yay, you know, that I don't, that's like my phone bill this month or something. I mean, I'm a pretty good fun spender. I think I decided to spend it on clothes instead. I was like, I'd rather have a new outfit than know what percent Irish I am.
So I logged back in a couple days ago because I wanted to know the exact percentage. I don't know why. It just came up in my brain.
Love that.
And I was able to look at the family tree and there were all these new leads. And Ancestry.com was able to pull things back to like, this is your 6th great grandma who was, or I don't know the exact number, who was born in 1736.
Wow.
And on my dad's side, you could see all the names. There were like 4 different Sarahs, 4 different Marys, like
That's
all
cool.
those kind of English names. And then on my mom's side, it's all very Jewish names. There's like Irving and Ida and Morris and all that. So I just sort of spent some time. Victor's like, what are you doing? And I was just looking at the tree. I said, I'm just hanging out with my ancestors. So, and I have one little story about that. There's one great grandma named Della. Have I told you this little weird fact?
I don't remember.
Okay. My sister growing up, every story she wrote, every game she played, her name was Della. We did not know anybody named Della. It was not a name on TV. It was never in a book. We had
never heard that
idea
name.
Where she pulled this name from. And it's like our 2nd great grandmother's name that I just found out this past 6 months.
This is further evidence that when we are children, our imaginary friends are not imaginary. They are ancestors or spirit guides or some little spooky little ghost that's hanging out with us. I'm convinced that is the case 99% of the time.
So yeah, that was my St. Patrick's Day big realization. And now I'm just excited because we're, you know, buying our plane tickets to do Wisconsin, which I mean, for you is going home. For me is going somewhere very new and exciting. And when I first met Victor, he's like, oh, like, where are the places you've traveled to? And he will never let me live this down. I was like, oh, I've been to Mexico and Israel and I've been to England. I've been to San Diego. He was like, San Diego made the list?
All these international trips and San Diego.
So now anytime
2 hours
somebody
away.
says San Diego, he's like, oh, Juliet's been there.
That's really funny.
Let's see. Travel, St. Patty's Day. Our 5-year anniversary is on the 26th, which is this Saturday. And we're going to go to a beautiful garden and walk around. And then we're going to a very fancy, fun dinner in downtown LA. It's called 71st Above or something. And you're like up on the 71st floor.
Oh, wow.
You see the whole city.
Fun.
So I'll tell you about that next week. And I feel like... So creatrixu is now launched. It's open. I think I have 14 students right now, which is exciting. Yay. And I feel like since I put that out, and I won't really like get into the program right now, but if you want to learn more, we will put a link in the show notes. I feel like my energy has shifted. I feel like I'm completely unafraid to be visible, to show up, to, like in a very, we are quantum leaping with our quantum goddesses. The more we share, the more we step into that. Whatever we teach on, we become more of. So that's been really fun. And that's really that's really the newness with me. What's new with you?
I didn't really do anything on St. Patrick's Day. I think, we rode our bikes to Scotty's, our usual place. I pinched Craig because he wasn't wearing green, and then he did not put on green. I was like, you have no respect for me and my ancestors. Just kidding. I think, well, he said he doesn't know, but I feel like his dad's side, it has to be part Irish. They just seem Irish. But yes, I didn't really do anything then, but Craig and I went on 2 little fun adventures. On Sunday, we went to West Hollywood to our old neighborhood where he used to have his apartment, and I lived there for some of the time too, because sadly he was very, very old, so it was from old age, but our old neighbor passed, Larry, and we used to just go see him from time to time. He was just an old man that needed some company, so we would go say hi,
Larry.
And because one of Craig's close friends was like the trustee of his estate or whatever, so we would bring over like cash and help him with stuff. Anyway, so we went there to see her, the trustee, and she was like, come look through some of his stuff and see if there's anything you want to take to like remember him by and whatever. He was a really interesting guy. I don't know a ton about him, but he was like an investigative reporter in Hollywood. So he knew about people. He rubbed shoulders with, celebrities from, gosh, I don't even know which decade, but like old Hollywood, and he was really funny. He had such a bright spirit when we would go see him. And so I was looking through some of his books and things, and I showed Juliet right before this, but he had all of these sex books. Larry really wanted to be a great lover.
Should we maybe we read some of these books for episode? Oh no, we have a guest next
episode
week.
69.
Sadie and Juliet read a little bit together.
But they're really funny. Like one of them is like Xaviera's what was it, like Guide to Love Making, and it has this like woman on the cover, this like dramatic like romantic cover, all sorts of books. So of course I took those and I'm gonna read them. I want to know what the old school Guide to Love Making is. These are old books, so that's why I'm like, this is gonna be really good.
What is it? Xaviera know that we don't.
I don't know.
To learn.
But I kind of flipped through it, and she was a sex worker, so she was an expert love maker. So I'm very interested to read, and I'll keep you guys updated. So I took a bunch of those books. We got a few little things from around the house, but it was just really trippy to be back on our street. We don't, even if we go into the city, we don't go to our old street. And we lived on a beautiful street in this teeny tiny studio apartment. If you're a fan of Craig's, like he didn't even have a kitchen sink. We washed the dishes in the bathtub there because the bathroom sink was so tiny. But that's where we fell in love. Like that's where he lived when I met him. And I remember walking into that teeny tiny little apartment, and it was so organized, and there was crystals everywhere. And I was like, oh my gosh, this guy has crystals everywhere. I just started working at a crystal store. Y'all know the story. So we walked back and we looked at the garden that Craig had planted there and saw all the stuff had like grown so much since we moved away. And we were in that studio apartment through the first like year of the pandemic. So we would go for like walks like 3 times a day because there's nothing to do. And we were in a teeny tiny room. And so we would like look at all the houses and whatever. So it was just really nostalgic and like weird, and like it was sweet to be back there together and spend a little time on that street. So that was special. And then on Monday we had a day date. And
day date.
Again, if you're a fan of Craig's, you know that he is obsessed with Tupac. And he really looks up to him, and I like Tupac. I knew a little bit about him because Craig talks about him all the time. Like seriously, all the time he's talking about him. Babe, did I tell you this story yet? And I'm like, yeah, but you can tell me again. But we went to this museum exhibit, and I learned so much about him, and it was incredible. I cried multiple times. They had pages and pages and pages of his writing, like actual, like the guy was a notebook guy, my kind of guy. I love notebooks. All of his old notebooks were there. There was, like outfits he wore, all of these things, but you sort of walked through and it was like about like his mother, and then about him as a child, and you kind of like walk through his life. And it was just so inspiring because, we talk about creating, and Tupac was a creator. Like from what I saw there, I'm sure he had his moments of ego and doubt, but he was so solid in, this is coursing through me and I'm going to put it down on paper. And it wasn't just song lyrics and like poetry. It was screenplays. He had complete details written out from a notebook that was like a restaurant he wanted to open. There was the menu detailed out, the cocktail menu, the names of those, little sketches of like the bathroom doors that were gonna say gangstas and divas on it. There was, I'm gonna hire this many busboys and this many waitresses, and this, he like, things were just constantly flowing through this man, and it was incredible. He wrote it all down. There was so much there. I was like, man, this guy, just the definition of a creative, just incredible, so inspiring. And of course, he spoke up so much about, the journey of being Black in America, and his mother and his father, but his father wasn't a huge part of his life from what I could tell from this exhibit. But his mother was in the Black Panther Party. She was arrested. She spent time in prison while she was pregnant with Tupac. She was released before she had him. But she was an incredible mother. Like she would make him read newspapers, and he was reading books. Like he was always reading, always learning. And that's what really nurtured him into being so, like, having so many just like words running through him. And it was so cute. Some of the things he wrote when he was little were these little, I just have a memory of specifically a couple haikus, and like one of them was about how he was so proud to be Black, even though that meant that he would have struggle as he grew up. He was a little boy and writing about this. Wow. Prolific, and he would sign everything. And this is what made me emotional when this was like in the beginning of the museum. As a little boy, he would sign everything like, I love you, Tupac, with love, Tupac. Like there was so much love in this little boy, even though he had such a great understanding of like all of the things wrong and that are still wrong in our country. But he still moved through that with like so much love in him, which I thought was so incredible. And so it was like a really incredible experience. If you live in the LA area and you have a chance, I think it's only there for like one more week, but it's in downtown LA. It was really inspiring. I am now the biggest Tupac fan. I'm like, babe, I get it. Let's watch all of his movies. Tell me, I listen to the music, but I pay more attention to what he's saying in it now. And it was just an incredible experience. And it's just so incredibly sad. Just one of those people that were taken so soon, and you wonder what that person would have created and what they would have done and what change they would have inspired.
How old was he?
Gosh, I don't remember. I was gonna say I want to look up. I screenshotted one of the, I think he was like, he was in his 20s for sure. Let me look it up. But 25 years old.
Oh my God.
In 1996. So like I was like 5.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a lot of, but Craig, he was quite a bit older, and so he has just, that was a big part of his childhood, was like, this is what I thought was so inspiring. This was written on one of the walls. I'm not saying I'm going to rule the world or I'm going to change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world.
Ooh.
And that's our job, is to spark somebody else watching us. We might not be the ones, but let's not be selfish. And because we're not going to change the world, let's not talk about how we should change it. I don't know how to change it, but I know if we keep talking about how dirty it is out here, somebody's going to clean it up.
Whoa.
Powerful, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so much of the stuff in here. And if you're a fan of his music, you know. I have so many pictures of like inspiring. I was reading through all of his, there was song lyrics, there was the track list, just incredible. He had his hand in every little bit. It was his handwriting, writing out what the music video was going to look like bit by bit. Like, he created everything. It wasn't like he wrote the song and then somebody else came up with the vision for the music video for it. Like, this man was a creator. So incredibly inspiring. I loved that museum so much. So it was a fantastic day. And then we went to what's the market down there called? The Grand Central Market in downtown LA? Is that what it's called? I had never been there. Have you ever gone?
No.
Oh my God. It's like,
oh, maybe.
It's just like tons of restaurants and like actual like kind of market things where you can buy like spices and stuff.
I've done something I was in the fashion district in downtown, and then there was another place where it was like a million different indoor little stores, and then they're outdoor, they were selling like birds and I don't think it's the same thing.
I don't know, but this place was like all food.
Oh, okay.
But you felt like they had like any culture you wanted food from there, and then there was just like actual like market style where you could buy like bulk spices and all of this stuff. It was like stepping into a different world, and it was really fun, and I hadn't gone there before. So Craig and I went to like 3 different spots and like shared food from all of them, and it was really, really fun. So yeah, we had a fun little weekend plus Monday together. And my brother is coming to visit this next week.
Brother Olson,
Mr. Olson. He's a teacher. I always think about how kids call him Mr. Olson, and it makes me emotional because that's so cute.
Mr. Olson.
So yeah, my brother Luke is coming. I'm very excited. And that's what's new with me.
Amazing. Well, today we were inspired to talk about something that continues to come up in conversations in our Patreon. And if it's happening in our Patreon, it's probably a reflection of what's happening with our listeners, which is probably a reflection of what's happening all over. And it's addressing something that we learned today is called the sister wound.
Yes.
And Sadie found this amazing article, and she's going to read from it. But just to sum it up, a lot of us grow up as girls, as women, feeling like we can't trust other girls and women. We have experience as, what am I trying to say? Girls have been mean to us. I think sometimes we have acted that way because it was expected. It was like the norm. And it's a lot of work to unknot that because it's been in every movie and every popular TV show. I mean, not every, but so many that were kind of promoted to our generation growing up. So let's chat a little bit. What did we learn?
Okay, so I will try to remember to copy paste this link so you can check out the article for yourself. It's from medium.com, and this article is called The Trinity Wounds, the Sister Wound. So there's 3 wounds that it said that women sort of inherit, and that would be the mother wound, the sister wound, and the witch wound, which we will probably cover the other 2 wounds in the next couple weeks, months, because this is really interesting. But last week we were reminiscing about middle school, and the conversation around, like Mean Girls came up, and then like Juliet said, we were talking about it in the Patreon, and it's really common that we get the comment, they're like, wow, I've never been a part of a group of women where there's no cattiness, there's no competition, it's just pure like love and joy and support, which it's true. Sadly, that is a rare thing to find, I think, with a group of women. So before we dive into chatting about our own thoughts and our own experiences, I just wanted to read this because I thought that it really sort of summed it up well. So, in a nutshell, the sister wound is the manifestation of women living in a patriarchal society who have had to use unhealthy coping mechanisms to survive and have not processed that grief and pain, and then continue to pass on the sister wound to the next generation. Before patriarchy, before colonialism, before the rise of media, women depended on other women. The, quote, "it takes a village" mentality wasn't just an option for women, it was a way of life. It was not unheard of for women to take turns caring for, teaching, and raising up youth as a community rather than an individual mother. It was natural, beautiful, and there were assured mutual benefits from working together. Then patriarchy and the burning times happened, and a woman had two choices: submit to the ways of the, quote, new world and betray her sisters, or become an outcast or martyr in the fight against the, quote, new world, meaning the patriarchal colonial world. This divide between women was precisely the point for patriarchy. The more divided women became, the less power they had together. This is how the sister wound began, and the submission to it is how it stays in place. So here are ways that the sister wound can show up for us. Judgment against other women. Sadly, this shows up everywhere, from shaming others for the way they dress, speak, think, or represent themselves. It also dovetails with the mommy shaming we talked about in the mother wound. Okay, we haven't talked about that yet, but we will. It can show up as intentionally excluding or removing a woman from feeling welcome. Insecurity around and in the company of other women, especially those you're not familiar with. Jealousy and or envy toward other women, and lack of trust in general with other women. So I think we've all experienced this, and what's really beautiful and unique is that we have sort of found a portal in our community, and this wasn't even on purpose. We weren't really consciously thinking about this when we created our community, but we've created this portal where the sister wound really doesn't exist, and we've all been doing a lot of healing together, and I think it's rippling out to broader areas of our life.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm trying to comb through my memories, and I think the first little friend that I made on my own in preschool and in kindergarten was a girl who I'm sure has grown up to be wonderful and lovely and successful. I'm sure she's not who she was at 4.5. 4.5. But one day she would say, "You're my best friend." And we'd have a great day. And the next day she'd be like, "You're not my friends anymore." And that is when I taught...
At 4 years old, the sister wound was already prevalent.
And even when I taught preschool, that's what the girls would do. They would say, "You're not my friends anymore," or they would say, this was the hard hitter, "You're not invited to my birthday party." But the boys were not doing this.
No.
And in this episode, I'm going to note, we're going to speak in very general, overarching, probably too general terms. Just know that as we have this conversation, of course.
Yes, and we're talking about men and women in this because we're talking about the sister wound.
Yes.
Yes, and that's our experience.
Yes. So it starts really, really young. And I always think when I drive past, I romanticize, this is such a funny thing. Anytime I go by a park at night and there's the men playing the pickup basketball games, and so many of them just show up and it's like, "Hey, hello, can I join?" "Sure." And it's that easy. If I walked up to a group of women in a park, they would be like, I'm sorry, who are you? It's just a different dynamic. And the sort of friend dramas that I had to go through growing up of, "You're my friend, you're not my friend. You're my friend, you're not my friend. I can trust you, I can't trust you." And even behaviors that I exhibited rarely, but sometimes, it's what is this? What is going on? It's where are we? I mean, we see it from as little as the Disney movies. There's always a woman against another woman. Think about Snow White and Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty. There's the woman you can trust and the woman you cannot.
Yeah.
It's not like that. I mean, and that's what we're fed initially, and in order to get our happy ending, our happily ever after, to be saved by this male figure, we have to fight against the woman.
Right.
We have to defy her. We have to kill her. We can't.
There's also the trope of like the monstrous mother-in-law or stepmom. And of course that does happen, but most of the reality, I think, is it's fine.
I also think it's interesting that for women in stories to like have I don't know, like a bravery characteristic, especially in these like movies and fairy tales. The mom has to die.
Oh my God. Until your mother dies, you don't realize that is the fucking theme in every other movie that comes out. And it's usually the mom. Sometimes it's the dad, but 90% of the time, the movie opens on like, they're at the funeral, or they're in the hospital room, and it was so triggering when it first happened. Like when I first lost my mom, and I was just like, wow, you don't realize this. Now when you're watching movies, you'll notice this. We're pointing it out. But yeah, why is that?
I don't know. Like if you've either defied or life has taken away the main female figure in your life, all of a sudden you're interesting and worthy of good things. Like, it's very strange.
I wonder if that's gonna, when we learn about the mother wound, we didn't learn about that yet, but I'm curious if that'll tie in there in some way.
I would love to know. So we're learning along with you. But just these themes, we're learning these themes from a really young age. We're not necessarily, and again, I'm speaking very broadly, I was not really put in team environments. Boys are put in teams. They're put in soccer and softball and whatever. We go to ballet. Very different energy.
It's a competitive energy too.
Very different energy. There's just different. It's so, from the time we are pushed out. It's kind of wild, and then it sort of follows us through high school. And I mean, I'm just thinking of like, I watched Lizzie McGuire. Why did we have to have Kate the bully? Was that essential to the plot? Did we need that?
Right.
Did we need to see that? How come every movie was like cool, mean, popular girls? Why couldn't you be a well-liked, well-known girl and be really kind?
Yeah.
So we're sort of dealing with these little triggers and being taught that women cannot be like, it's an exception if you can trust a woman.
Well, I think it comes back to our power, because I think that our natural state as women is to be really good at building community and being a part of a community with other women. But the more we're conditioned to believe that that's dangerous for us, that it's, or there's not enough to go around if we exist supporting each other and working together, then it takes away the power that we have in numbers. Because I just think to our Patreon community, the group spells I've hosted, the group programs where it's predominantly women, and holy shit, doing a spell by yourself or doing a meditation by yourself and then doing that spell or that meditation as that group, it's in an insanely different exponential difference, and leap towards more power. So it's interesting to me how this article is telling us, well, it ties back to like when we started living in a patriarchal society, and men know how powerful women are. But if they separate us and they put us in competition with each other, and we're so concerned with, do I look as pretty as her? Am I as smart as her? She has a man and I don't. I'm talking about, again, we are both heterosexual. Well, I'm bisexual, but I'm talking about our experience sort of moving through life. I know there's different ways that your experience might have panned out, but you know, like, oh my gosh, she's getting married and I'm not married yet. They have the house and I don't. And if we're always so wrapped up in like what's going on with her, and we're spending less time on digging into our own power, then that does the patriarchy good.
It does. And there's so much mixed messaging, and maybe this is another rabbit hole. There's so much mixed messaging for women. It's like you can't win. You are either you either need to get in shape or you're too skinny. Like, it's one of those. You either need to love your body or fix it. You either need to... Here's the thing. I've heard from, like, when I used to do live streaming stuff, people would come on and be like, you should get a nose job. The second I got one, if I were to get one, though, I would hear, oh, she's plastic. You can't win.
No. And it's like, how about we take out the or and stick in some ands? Like, you can love your body and want to work out and make changes to your body, and you can love what you look like without makeup and put it on a shit ton of makeup because it's fucking fun. Like, there's all these, like, one or the others can't win, and it's like, what if we can just be both and it's okay?
And that is how you win, is by just loving all as much of yourself as you possibly can, because whatever you are is not going to be enough for whatever beauty standard at the time, because people are trying to sell things. It's a seller's game. Oh, if we tell women that...
Now we're getting into capitalism.
Yeah, if we tell women that they, need to look like this, they'll buy this product from me. So we become really powerful, and there's nothing wrong with buying products you enjoy, but we become really powerful when we no longer fit into that narrative, and also the narrative of, well, if you judge that person because of this parameter we set up in society, then you'll feel better about yourself. That to me is bananas.
I think it goes back to just viewing your outer world as a mirror of your inner world. So if you find yourself placing judgment on someone else, turning inward and going, okay, I caught myself, I'm being a judgy person. How does that reflect back to me? Am I judging myself for not doing something? Am I judging myself for doing something? Am I judging myself for not being enough? Whatever it is, and reflecting that back. The same thing we've talked about in the past about triggers. Like, if something triggers you, if you're judging something, it's probably something you need to work on for yourself. What I love, though, is how much we've seen. It's not all that hard to just let go of and move forward from, I find, because we have this small but mighty community. And I'm even thinking to the phrase, like, it takes a village, and like the way they're describing, like, back in the day, like you would raise a child as a village. Your economy existed in that village, and we have so many small businesses sprouting, popping up, blossoming in our community. And I'm just thinking to, like, the it takes a village mentality, and everyone's buying things from each other and supporting each other's businesses, and everyone's thriving. And it's almost like we have this mini economy in our community of women who, instead of being like, oh, I can't believe they're starting a business when I just started my business. I can't believe that they want to do a magic spiritual business when I have one, or whatever it is. Instead of that, they're like, oh my God, amazing. I can't wait to see what drops in your shop. I can't wait to buy it. And everyone's buying from each other. And this money is circulating, and the support and love is there. And I don't know how it's happening. It's miraculous, really, but there is none of that. And there's just such a natural sense of abundance amongst all of us. There's no scarcity. There's no grasping for. There's just support and love. And I'm like, okay, we figured it out in this small space. How do we bring this to the masses?
Yeah. I think just bringing awareness and letting people know that it is possible. And the experience you had in middle school and high school, that was then. And we were all trying on different identities and figuring things out. I mean, I had another friend in high school who would be my best friend one day and then would ignore me in the hall the next day. And it was very, very disturbing and distressing. And I remember at prom, I went up to her and I was like, I don't really know why you're mad at me, but you look really pretty tonight. And she was like, I don't even know why either. Like, let's just dance. And it was like big news that the two of us were chatting at prom. And I don't even know what happened. And something just hurt her feelings. And, you know, don't let what happened to you between the ages of 11 and 17 define the type of relationship with women you get to have as an adult. I also think I always used to say this because you hear it a lot, like, oh, it's really hard to make friends as you get older. It's really hard to, no, it isn't.
We met when we were, what, 27?
27. And then now we have 70 plus new best friends.
Yep.
It's not hard.
Of all ages.
Of all ages. You just have to believe it's easy, and you have to, in some capacity, put yourself out there. And a community like ours, or something similar, it doesn't have to be ours, is a great place to start if you want to like dip your toes in virtually. It can be scary to go to like a club in person or something at first. I get it. But I just have this belief that like I'm always making new friends. I'm, you know, good friends with my downstairs neighbor now. Like there's just people that I would never have imagined in my life 4 or 5 years ago. And I thought, well, these are my 4 friends. I'm set. Not the case.
I definitely am still, I know it's hard to believe, but I'm very shy in person. I just take a little warming up too. But I always kind of joke like, oh, you know, like I'm more scared of you than you are of me or whatever. But in that same sort of sentiment, like just as much as like you want to find a friend that is supportive and loving and not catty or competitive, that person is out there looking for you too. So if you're looking for a space to get used to a new way of being around women, we have that space. I feel like this whole episode can be a huge gigantic ad for our Patreon, but really truly the feedback we've heard on this is incredible. And like, I don't know how it happened, but it did. We have the most incredible, supportive, loving group in the world, and it's a great place to come and sort of experience a new normal and understand what it is actually like to be a part of a group that does like love you unconditionally. And there's none of that. I don't think this sister wound exists. That's why I feel like it's this little portal where we get to slip into it, and the sister wound never existed between any of us. And then when we go out into the new world, maybe we do feel it coming back for us, and that's okay, because little by little we're healing that when we get to enter our safe space and experience what it is like for it not to be a part of our lives. So we're here for you if you want to understand what that could be like. And if you're still in a friend group that you're experiencing this, or like if you're thinking about this and you're thinking back and going, gosh, maybe I was the mean girl some of the time, because I had times where I was bullied, and I can think of times where I was mean too. So I think a big part of the sister wound is also practicing self-forgiveness for any part you played in, pushing forward that narrative of girls are mean to each other. That's just the way it is. I think that's really important too, is like forgiving ourselves for doing it, forgiving ourselves for tolerating it, forgiving ourselves for not placing boundaries or speaking up, all of those things. But it's really, really special and really cool to be like, oh, wow, that used to be my normal, and now it's not at all. Not even a little bit. Yeah.
I think what's been really helpful for me in just self-forgiveness in general with things that happened, things that I tolerated, and then 1 or 2 times things that I said that I like still feel bad about to this day, and I was 12. Go be around a 12-year-old. And, because when we think of ourselves younger, we think it's us, but just shorter.
Yeah.
Go be around a 12-year-old and it's like, oh, I didn't know anything. And I apologize.
You're learning.
I'm sorry, Julia. You should not have done that. And you were a child. And, so that's, Or like I was in just, you know, a nasty, nasty bad relationship when I was like 13 to 15. And it took me forever to forgive myself for that one. And now if I'm around a 13-year-old, I'm like, oh, well, that's...
You don't know anything.
You know? It's like you do, but...
You're figuring it out.
Yeah. So, you know, I think it's sort of a part of growing up. And I hope that the next generation will have a different experience. I really hope they will.
I think it already is happening, because as much as like the cool bully narrative was such a thing for us as we grew up, then the anti-bullying campaigns came about, and that was sort of later on.
That was not happening when I was in school.
And it is so not cool to be a bully now. Like, you are canceled if you are a bully. So I hope that also plays into the sister wound part of it, because of course bullying happens in all sorts of senses to all sorts of people, of having different experiences. But specifically what we're talking about today, I hope that the whole anti-bully push, which is incredible, I hope that also feeds into hopefully the relationships among young girls, because I don't think it's cool to be the mean girl anymore.
No, it was sort of lifted up for a while.
Like, you thought like you had to be mean in order to be a part of the popular group or something. Like, I remember like thinking like, I was like, oh, I thought like, I was like, oh, I don't think my school has like a really popular crowd, because no one was like, from my lived experience, I didn't experience a ton of in high school, like, oh, like those are the mean girls, or like, who's the mean group? That must be the cool group. I don't know. So I thought there wasn't a popular group. I also went to a pretty small school, so
we had too many kids for there to be a popular group. We had, I think, 3,500.
Okay. I mean, my class was pretty big. We had 500 people, which was gigantic for us.
Oh. And it's always a good feeling, like if you're listening and you happen to be a younger, beautiful, lovely young person, you know, people remember how you made them feel. People remember how you make them feel your whole life. It's like that quote, I think, was it Maya Angelou, who says, people will forget like what you said and what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And, you know, when I have kids someday, I really want to emphasize that. It's like people remember that. So like, please always be kind. I had one funky situation where some girls were kind of leaving really mean comments on my live journal. Remember live journal?
No, we didn't do that.
Maybe it was on, I don't know what it was on. It was something. And so me, trying to defend myself, wrote back something very mean. Well, that girl got very freaked out and had her mother call my mother. And then I was grounded. Which I don't know if that was the right solution there. Maybe a conversation of like, what's going on?
I was grounded pretty much my whole childhood.
I was grounded so much.
I got grounded, so I snuck out. I was sneaky. I was not honest with my parents. I don't think grounding is a thing to do, because then I just wanted to hide my life from them.
Well, looking back, it's like, wait, so I was being tormented and I tried to stand up for myself, and now I'm in trouble, like, so no, I think grounding, I mean, maybe if you're very clear about it, like ahead of time, like, hey, these are the parameters, and if like this I
was sneaking out and partying and stuff, I deserved it, but then I just snuck out more and it didn't do anything. Hope my dad's not listening. Sorry, Mom. I know she already knows it also.
She knows. But and then all of those things combined made me feel like I couldn't trust girls, because not only was the girl bullying me, the girl then told her mother, and then I got in trouble. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, grew up, beautiful, wonderful person, like no problems there. But it's tricky. It's tricky to not even unlearn, but re-establish an idea that like, oh, like it is safe to trust other women. It is safe to let women into my life. It is safe to rely on my sisters. Because when women come together, why do you think it has been discouraged for centuries?
Yeah.
Because we're powerful. Why do you think there aren't tons of women that they're putting in the seats of the House and the Senate?
Because we'll actually get things done. And
because the thought of it is scary, and not because we're incompetent, because we're not, but because we're powerful. And so it's, I think, such a form of rebellion to trust and love women. And there will be women, as there will be people who are untrustworthy, but let that be the exception to the rule. Like, the rule is that women are kind, caring, helpful, and trustworthy. It was also very popular when we were growing up to be like, oh, I'm just like one of the guys. I only hang out with the guys.
That. I was like, I was always so prideful that I wanted to be one of the guys. Even when I was little, I like, and this was not about like wanting to be different in my body, but I didn't really want to be a girl. Like, I was the tom girl or tomboy, whatever you're supposed to say. Like, I would only wear boys' clothing. I wanted to play football and basketball, and I wanted to be, because, you know, I also had an awesome dad who was like super athletic and really cool. He was taller than all the other dads. You know, when we were little, we'd be like, my dad could beat up your dad. Anyone else do that?
No.
That wasn't a thing on your playground?
So
my dad was the dad that really could beat up all the other dads. You know, he's 6'4", he's freaking cool. Anyway, so I wanted to be like, I wanted to be one of the boys, and I like refused. I was like, ugh, dresses, pink. Like, I was like, my poor mother, her one daughter was like, no, not interested in anything girly. And I think it did relate back to that because I was like, well, I want to be seen as strong, and I want to be seen as someone who can do anything. And that wasn't my view of a little girl. And I remember watching the Captain Marvel movie with, what's her name? Bryn is the actress, or I don't know. Her name starts with a B. But throughout the movie, as she sort of like, it's been a while, but I remember feeling really emotional because it kept flashing back to her childhood and her being like told over and over again, like I don't know, one see flashback, maybe she like skinned her knee, and it was like, don't cry, like you're a baby, like only girls cry, like things like that. And like, she wanted to like play baseball with the boys, and she wanted to do stuff, and it was always like, no, you're not strong enough, no, you're like, you can't keep up. And it made me so emotional because that was exactly how I felt during my childhood, and it was nothing that like my parents were trying to like put on me or something. It was something that I put on myself from looking around. But like, I just wanted to be seen as someone as strong as, I don't know, I just felt like the boys were looked at as stronger and cooler and could do more important things, and I wanted to be that. So I didn't want to be girly, because being girly was weak and was babyish and was just not as cool. That's how I felt when I was little. And I remember watching that movie, and I'm curious if anyone else had this experience, and I was just like, holy shit, yeah. And then she grows up to be like Captain Marvel, like the strongest of them all, and saves the whole entire world. And I was like, fuck yeah, who's a woman? But yeah, like when I can't remember what age that was. It's probably when I was like 7 to 9. Like, I refused to wear anything girly. And I only played with the boys. Didn't want to talk to any girls.
And that was like a character trait.
And that made me cool. I thought, like, I was in my little kid brain, I was like, yeah, I'm cool because, like, I'm not a girl. I'm one of the boys. I
just thought of a quote. I don't know how many movies, books, either where the girl says this or somebody says, you're just not like other girls. And that's like a high compliment.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but if a guy says that to you,
goodbye.
Red flag. No.
They could say, you're not like anyone I've ever met.
Yeah.
That's far more romantic than like, you're just not like other women.
Yeah.
Really? Because the women I know are brilliant. They're gorgeous. They're smart.
They're strong. They're capable. They're
creative.
magical. They're intuitive.
Oh, I'm not like that? All right. Well,
What, you think I'm a dummy?
yeah.
No thanks. I want to be one of the girls.
I also wrote down, okay. You know how, remember when you got your period?
Oh my God. You were so embarrassed.
Oh, I just wrote down, hide it, embarrassed, what a drag. I was never told anything positive about it.
No, I would hide my tampon in my sleeve. So embarrassing if somebody heard the plastic crinkle.
Even
when you were
other
leaving
women.
class.
Even other girls.
Yeah. The most private, secretive, most disgusting thing. Yeah.
Which is like, I remember as I got older, I saw some moms or older sisters will do like a period cake or something. Like they'll like, oh, you got it, woo, and they'll like make it a little party. And I just, we would talk about it in my house and stuff. But I remember at school it was like nobody can know. It was like this very like dirty, embarrassing thing.
Yeah.
And
totally
like don't tell the person you're dating because. It was just like when we were being educated on how our bodies were going to change, there was no positivity.
No, it was just sort of matter of fact.
It's like, here's what it's going to be. It's not going to be fun. You always have to be prepared.
Yeah, it's going to hurt. It's going to be blood everywhere.
Yeah. You're going to stain your pants constantly.
Yeah.
Which I think gets talked about more often than actually happens.
Oh my God. I remember me and my friends were constantly like, can you check? And we would like go behind and be like, no, you're good. Constantly.
Yeah.
It's so much fear around
Maybe
that.
one time in 20 years have I been like, oh, shoot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can feel it.
Right. You can feel it right before it's about to leak. I got my period, like all my friends had their periods way before me. I got mine kind of late. So I was thrilled to finally get it because I felt like I was like, oh my God, I'm just like a little kid, like at that age, you're ready to be a woman. But then that quickly subsided and I was like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed.
Yeah, I don't feel any embarrassment now.
No.
I feel uncomfortable for 3 days.
Oh, and I remember in high school going to like buy tampons at Target and I would like wrap it around in a scarf.
Oh,
like I was going to buy a scarf.
If
like
the cashier, I have no shame with the cashier now. I'm like, hemorrhoid cream, like anything. I don't care.
Condoms, lube, tampons.
I don't care. But I remember being like, oh, if anybody knows that I'm a person who bleeds.
I would literally like if I was wearing a scarf, I would like throw it over and like hold it underneath, or I would like find like a t-shirt or a scarf or something to wrap the box in. And then when I got to the cashier, be like, oh, I don't actually want to buy that, and like give the t-shirt back. But I could not.
And you'd
God
wait in line
forbid.
and you're like, I hope it's going to be a woman at least.
Yeah.
And not a man.
Just so embarrassing.
Right.
I wonder if young women these days feel like that. I hope not.
I hope not, because I feel like there's so many fun and funny TikToks normalizing it.
Yeah.
And I will say, I have a lot of great things. I don't know why people dump on this like younger generation. I think they're really smart and really funny, and they have this cool way of like all having inside jokes with each other, no matter where they live in the world. And they have really big hearts, I feel like.
Yeah.
So, but there's so many great like jokes and just relatable and helpful things that I think it would be a little easier now to go through it, because it's not just you, it's anyone you're, around the world. And so I hope
we're
that
all
helps.
a lot more open now because of social media. Like we all share so much, so it's a little easier to accept those parts of ourselves, I think.
Imagine like a 1950s housewife.
I was just gonna say, I'm watching Marvelous Miss Maisel right now.
Isn't it so good?
It's so good. We just started season 2, but they show a scene where she lays down to bed, and it's like the first episode. She lays down to bed with her husband. She waits for him to fall asleep. She's got like one eye open waiting for him to fall asleep. Then she gets up, she washes all of her makeup off, she makes sure that the window has a crack so that at a certain time she knows the sunlight hits her eye, and so she wakes up before her husband. She goes, she puts her makeup on, she fixes her hair, and then she gets back in bed, and then like her husband wakes up, and then he's like, oh, you look so gorgeous in the mornings. And these husbands have no idea. So, and I'm just like, oh my God, like I just like laugh because I'm like, when, you know, I'm sure you can relate, like when you first start dating someone, you're like always like ready, and then like now poor Craig gets that like, well, he sees me on Wednesdays, and then like I'll dress cute for this and be like, why don't you ever dress like that? And I'm like, we don't do anything. You think I'm gonna get ready? He doesn't get much of the enough Sadie anymore.
But I always do.
Yes, Juliet does.
I have two things to say. The first is I love Marvelous Mrs. Maisel for many reasons. It's brilliant, it's funny, and it's one of the first shows that I've watched that's about Jewish people. And not in a way that like, it's not the punchline.
Yeah.
It's just about a Jewish families.
Yeah.
And I love it. I'm like, oh, it just feels so good. The other thing is so Victor and I dated for like almost 4 years before moving in together. And I always, really did it up because I would see him maybe 3 times a week. And
oh yeah, so he got years.
And so the first night in our apartment together, I was like, we have signed a lease.
He's locked in.
I'm not, doing this every night. So, my hair's up all messy, all the makeup's off. It was winter, so it was cold. I had like my full on, because I wear like full on pajama sets to bed. I had my robe and I had my slippers, and he hears me coming, and he looks out of his office, and I'm just shuffling down the hall, and he lost, and he's like, "What are you wearing?"
He's like, "Who is this in my house?"
And I say, "Get used to it, baby. It's nighttime, and I'm ready for bed." And I thought it was like it was because he'd never really, because if we go on a trip together, like I'll bring the cute thing or whatever to sleep in, but. I'm like, well, you're in my house now.
That's so funny. I think pretty early on, because like Craig he is a comedian. Like I would work during the day, and then I'd get home from work, and I'd like take a shower because I knew I was going to be up late because I wouldn't see him till after his shows, and then so I wanted to be able to sleep in a little bit longer in the morning before I had to like get up early and go drive an hour and a half to work again. So I would shower at night and then go over to his place and wait for him to get back from his show. So he always saw, after the first like couple months, it was always like Sadie, no makeup, ready for bed. So very quickly he lost the Sadie and her curb appeal. But he never said anything. He was like, whatever. I feel like he barely notices.
Yeah, I'll do it all up, and Victor kind of won't say anything. And I'm like, why didn't you come? And he's like, because I always think you look beautiful.
Yeah,
I'm like,
so
okay.
I remember one day recently, he was like, oh, babe, your makeup looks so good today. And I was like, bless you, I'm not wearing any. I think I had only like put like eyebrow fluff in or whatever, and the eyebrows make a huge difference because my eyebrows are very blonde. But it was just funny. He's like, your makeup looks so good. And I was like, thanks, all I did was make my eyebrows darker.
When winter comes around again, I will make sure to take a picture. I mean, I'm not going to remember, but somebody remind me to take a picture in my full pajama set, slippers, robe.
Yeah.
He could not believe. I said, this is what you're getting for life now, buddy.
Yeah, I do have about 15 double XL crew neck sweatshirts that are on rotation. That's what I wear. I don't wear them to bed. I sleep in my underpants, but so lucky Craig on that. But when I'm up, it's usually oversized, gigantic sweatshirt and baggy sweatpants.
Sadie and Craig sleep like barely any clothes, cuddling all night.
Yeah, we do.
I'm dressed so that if there's an earthquake, I can just get out. I have pillows between us. You stay on that side. Like, very different sleeping style.
I've thought about that before. I'm like, if there's an earthquake or a fire and I have to run out this door, I am fucked.
Just hang a robe nearby.
I have a robe hanging in my closet.
Okay,
so.
done. Easy.
Yeah. I did have, in college, like, I was roommates with my best friend. So I wore, like, a top, but I slept in my underwear and a top. And we would have fire drills, you know, from the dorms. And so I'd always, like, be, like, tripping, putting on pants. But I made it with pants on. But I don't know, I switch sides a lot. So if I have any clothing on and it gets twisted at all, it's like I will throw up. So I just sleep in my underwear. It's more of a logistical thing than a sexy thing.
So, what? Let's see. I mentioned...
We've gotten off on quite the tangent.
Okay, we're going to go back. We're going back to sister wounds. Sister, sister.
I think we
got
can...
my own life.
In conclusion...
I'm my own time.
In conclusion to the sister wound, I just feel like I want to say thank you to our whole entire community, whether you're in the Patreon or you're not, because we know that you're all like so incredibly supportive of us, and we're so grateful for that. And like I've just never really felt like scared to be visible within our own community, or scared to talk about myself, or worried that I'm in competition with you or someone out there, or I've just always felt so safe and so loved. And I don't know how we did it, but we've conjured up quite the motherfucking community. So thank you.
Hey, let's pull a card for
Intuitive Magic Oracle deck.
Created by...
Look at the top card that popped up.
Community.
With the bees.
That bee took a nap on Sadie Olsen's back. And then it flew away. Well, we'll do this one. We'll do one more. It says, be open to receiving support. Create your visions with others. Work collaboratively. There we are. We're the little bees.
I chose the bee symbolism because they do work together to make beautiful, intricate hives and you know what else is cool about queens? They all serve the queen bee.
Yes.
A lady bee, which is pretty cool. Powerful women in the bee world. But this is a card to tell you it is safe for you. And especially if we're talking about women leaning on other women, as the theme of this episode is, you are so safe to lean on others. You are so safe to be seen. You are protected. We also pulled the protection card. You have a profound circle of protection around you now and always. You are safe.
That timing was beautiful.
You are protected. You are safe to exist in our community, in your communities, and just know that like you are so powerful and you are so intuitive and you are so aware of when someone's energy does not match your own, and that's okay. It doesn't mean they're bad or that you're bad. It just means, hey, there's other people out there who are going to be more aligned with what you desire out of your relationships, especially as today's theme is your relationship with other women.
Yes. And we have, I think, kind of a small amount we have a limited supply left of our Intuitive Magic Oracle because we are dreaming up something else.
I had a little download today about what our next deck is going to be like. We'll continue to tease little bits of it, but I just want to say one word about it. Holographic. That's right. So
holographic, here we come.
Holographic, here we come. So that's that's what's coming. So we have a limited supply of Intuitive Magic Oracle deck left.
The original. And maybe in the future we will order it again, but as of right now we feel really inspired to create a new deck, which we're really looking forward to. It's gonna be insane, and I don't think there's anything like it out there. So get excited for that. And if you have not yet snagged your Intuitive Magic Oracle deck, the link is in our show notes. Yes.
other things going on. Activate Your Magic. The public launch is now live, so you can go to the link in the show notes and sign up for 9 incredible, transformative, magical weeks with me, your intuitive guide. This is all about tuning in to yourself, being connected. It's a journey of self-discovery. It's a journey of literally activating your magic, getting clear on what it is you want out of life, and having the confidence and the tools to create it. This is all about manifestation, baby. So we do money mindset magic. We dig into your story. We rewrite your narrative, and we get crystal clear on what you want and how to get there. So I'm so excited to welcome more of you into Activate Your Magic. And Juliet, what do you have going on?
Creative You with Jessica.
You with Jennifer Lopez.
Creation R with Sofia Vergara. It's creatrixu with Juliet Piper. This is my virtual academy with rolling enrollment. Every month you will get to attend a live masterclass with me. Our first and upcoming masterclass is on the 31st of March at 6 p.m. Pacific. So it is not too late to sign up and attend that live masterclass. Creatrixu is for the creative goddess, the artistic goddess, the goddess who's really ready to express herself and who is really eager to have like a creative mentor and to get advice that's so much more helpful than simply just keep going.
Keep at it. That's
just
also
going.
Keep at it, but also yes, and your creative life.
So when you sign up, you will be able to attend the first masterclass, which is Divine Confidence for Artists that I'll be teaching. You get access to every replay forever and ever, and you get into my VIP vault. My old course, which is now retired, Elevate Into You, is in there in full. You get all of my guided meditations, which are fabulous. Chef's kiss. Thank you. We also get little bits and pieces from my other courses and just video riffs of me talking about different things that pertain to living an inspired creative artist life. So tuition right now is $11.11 per month.
What?
Because I want this to be accessible and I don't want artists to make any excuses to why they can't thrive. The price will go up, but the price you sign up for will never change as long as you stay enrolled. So creatrixu, creation XYZ with Natalie Portman. Sign up now.
Exciting stuff. As always, we have our beautiful jewelry collab. We have really cute merch. All of it is available in the show notes. Check out our shop. And yeah, check out both of our current offerings.
We want to say thank you so much to Jeweled by Janelle for sending us, mine's in the other room, but for sending us these beautiful sunstone
with the cutest little sun charm. And you know what I have to say is really exciting about this one in particular is that it's small. Most of these bracelets roll around a lot. On my petite little wrist. They're not even that petite. I'm not that petite. But I like how it's really snug, Janelle. So thank you.
It's gorgeous.
It's stunning. I love it. I'm feeling confident and sunny already. I charged it out in the sun today when we went to the beach. So thank you so much, Janelle. We appreciate it. They're beautiful. We love having matching things.
There is still time if you want to join our Patreon in the Coven tier. We have a really special intuition third eye opener workshop that we're going to be teaching on the 30th.
The 30th, Wednesday. If you join our Coven tier, every last Wednesday of the month, we host a live workshop. And whenever you join, you get access to all the replays of the past ones. So if you join now, you get access to all of those. We've had some really fun ones lately. We had a sex magic workshop. We did a pendulum workshop that everyone went nuts over. We have lots of juicy stuff to go back and look at. And then, of course, this month's is really fun, really powerful. Intuition, third eye opening.
So you still have a little time for that. And we are so excited to welcome you to the community. You are safe to join the community. I'm lifting the cards as I say this. And thank you for everything. We just love you so much.
Make sure you're following us on Instagram at Goddess Hangs. I am Sadie Olson.
I'm at Juliet.Piper.
And remember, if you leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, even if that's not where you listen, leave us a review there. Take a screenshot of that review before you press send. Email that to goddesshangs@gmail.com, and we will send you a free goddess meditation that we recorded ourselves.
It's really good.
And if you're not on our email list yet, make sure you get on there. You'll get the first peek at new offerings, the first chance at pre-orders, hint, hint, that new duck is coming.
You get a free money spell.
And you get a free money spell, and a powerful one at that. I've heard lots of feedback on this thing. It is juicy. So make sure you're on the email list. We email you once every Monday with a fun little newsletter, an oracle card of the week, a message, journaling prompts. It's a pretty high vibe,
it's
juicy
a vibe.
newsletter.
It's a good
so
vibe.
make sure on there. And thanks for tuning in every week. We love you all so much.
We love you.
Bye.